This episode, updates on the bullet truck front end, more mods to the 79 now that we're not sure what we're doing, keeping or selling.
Dad, what are you doing?
Some RC action. What are these rims for? What tyres are going on these rims? And the kids' motorbike round. Nice, now go, don't let him catch ya. We'll pop in and see a good old friend of mine, Bob, owner of TJM out at Chipping Norton. Geez, a TJM bar on that 300 series looks really, really hot. So this is where the current 79 went from Toyota for its pre-rego GVM upgrade back in January. He said he might have something there to freshen up the sound in the current 79 I've got. I've run the REDBACK system before on the grey truck. Now that was a pre-DPF model, so I got the full exhaust system from them back then, from the turbo back. The system back then made that grey truck sound wicked. Instructions, well documented. I remember on the grey truck in 2016, I did the whole system up to the dump pipe and including the dump pipe in under 2 hours. It's off in less than an hour. And the only tools I needed was a 14mm socket, a ring spanner and a 10mm. So what we need to do is remove and retain the O2 sensor from the standard exhaust. Then a 22mm to get rid of the sensor for that to go back on the new piece. So you can see here the 4-bolt flanges over the 3, and then it's a modular system. New brackets, new gaskets, new nuts and bolts. The only bit of hassle I had is because I've got the water tank on there, it was a bit difficult to pull it through. Also too, with the airbags, there's a heat shield here. I've got to remember to hose clamp that back on. We'll remove the sensor while it's out of the car. We'll bolt this sensor back on while it's outside the vehicle. So also on this piece here, they have provisions to run a pyro. So you screw your pyro probe into this threaded section. What we'll do, until we put some decent power through this motor, I'll just put the bung plug in it and it's there for a later date. We use the original bolt and spring to bolt back up to the back of the DPF. You can put your 14mm spanners away and grab some 1/2 inch or 13mm for these grade 8 bolts. Seriously, in under 2 hours it's in. From the DPF back, it's an easy job. If you can play Lego and you've got some tools, it's so easy to do yourself. One of the easiest mods on a 79 for the result you get when you hear it start. Now before we turn the key and listen to the sound, let's just head over to the Mini Bike Club for the update on the kids' last point score. It was an enduro round. Pretty tough conditions for them. Muggy, and the track was quite tacky. A lot of concentration needed. A lot of riders did come off, including my two. Now Nicholas seems to be killing his class, taking out first place, now first place overall in his series. Amelia doing better with every ride on her 65cc. Having gone up a class mid-year, I'm very proud of her. She picked up another third to still be in third place overall. Now with 1 round to go, I feel that she does have an opportunity to pick up second place overall with a really good day. So stay tuned for that. We'll have those results once we're done that round in an upcoming video. Bit of bullet truck news out of Brian's house. How's he going there? So with the 80 series front housing, and because me, the dinosaur, wants leaf springs still, he's had to cut off all the mounts that were on the 80 series back to bare, basically. Now here it is, all shaved up. He's worked on the knuckles. He's got the knuckles and the high steer arms sorted out, and it's time for the spring purchase. This is some of the work that he's done over the last couple of weeks. Now in the meantime, I did have to strip a lot of stuff off Bullet to keep it mobile. Brian's needed the ram, so we had to take the ram off. He needed the U-bolt flip plate to set up how we're going to hold the springs on the 80 housing. So we've had to put on there a factory setup where we've got the U-bolts coming from the top. Now this is all to keep it mobile still. I want to be able to get it under cover and back out as I need to. I've taken the 6-shooter knuckles off with the 6-shooter high steer arms. We've put on a set of factory knuckles and I've got the 4-bolt high steer arms. Bit of a band-aid setup to be able to move it. I couldn't find the bottom bracket for this side, so we ended up using a top bracket. But anyway, we got it in and it's safe and undercover. Especially with all this wet weather we're having, I don't want it out. Noticeably here with the ram off, that the power steering pump's not squealing as it does with the ram on. So I really am going to have to search for a bigger reservoir to fix that. It's a bit of an annoying noise, to be honest. Why I've chosen the 80 series housing over a 60 or a 75. We were running the high pinion 80 series center in any case. Have a look at the CV difference here. Now we're starting to do front digs quite a bit. So the width of the 80 now marries up to the width of the back of bullet, which is an 80. So we won't need any spacers anymore. So those 4 arrows there, they actually help hold the diff center in place. So in theory, that should stop any excessive flex in the pinion gear. All right, it's time to turn the key and have a listen to this 3-inch exhaust. Now, having the DPF, the diesel particle filter, I'm not expecting it to sound like this. But a nice subtle rumble you hear, knowing you're driving a V8. Okay, so I said in this video that I'd try and get some updates on the 79. So the general manager at our dealership, he's trying to get me an old one, so the pre-updated version. I'm not holding my breath. I hope he's not just saying that to buy some time. I sincerely hope that they really are doing what they say, at least. So no real update. They haven't worked out the extra costs. I've been very lucky in all the years that I've been competing to have great sponsors. Most of those sponsors have become friends. Nick at Cartech Tire and Auto, he found me some rims. So we're gonna pay him a visit and have a look at what he found us. We'll find that out next episode. What size and brand of tyre are we going to put on it? So we've still got a few more mods to do on the 79 in this video. Here we go. Off on a stroll around the block. Oh, there's a 79 here. I'll just walk around the front of it. Have a look at the overhang on that nose. I'm not sure what Toyota was thinking to protrude this bit of a bracket out past the bar and then cover it with a bulkhead that's way bigger than it needs to be. How good does the new Maxxis tyre look on the Yamaha? I ended up getting the next size up too, so the profile's just that little bit taller. Before I scrap this bar, potentially now keeping this truck, I want a little bit more approach angle. I'm going to have a go at modifying it to see if I can delete this bracket and make it look a little bit cleaner at the front. A bit of black epoxy enamel, just so it doesn't rust while I work out how I'm going to finish this off. You can't make this bar look any uglier than it is. So I think anything I do here is an improvement. Had to make a template up anyway if I was going to do it out of steel. So I thought I'll do it out of checker plate, see what it looks like. Now we can use the Duramax and the epoxy enamel on the aluminium, but we must edge prime it first. Now this is just the bar we're modifying. We're not touching the chassis or the body. My thought process was, before I take this Toyota bar off and scrap it and put an ARB bar on there, I thought, let me see if I can modify it to suit our needs just that little bit more. So what do you think?
Looks good.
Looks much better than that big thing sticking out. We made this to go in there. Let's paint that black and see what it looks like. You get closer. You want to cover it all in black. Get closer. Hard, isn't it? Good work. Good work. Watch your shoes. Okay, get the, yep, that's it, perfect. You leave it out in the sun. In 10 minutes we'll be able to see what it's going to look like. Off, because there's 2 sneaky screws behind it. Can you get it? Okay, see if you can get your fingers behind it. There you go. All done.
Can I have this?
Can you have it? What do you want it for?
Bed?
For sure. we found a spot for the second one too. Right smack bang in the middle of this bull bar on my winch controller. Yep. All right, now we get the big screwdriver and there's 2 screws screwed into some plastic grommets. So behind that plastic insert, well, there's nothing. So what it really needs is to be braced back there, because that's probably the spot that you will hit a rock.
Look at that
What's stopping me?
Bull bar.
Bull bar stopping?
Yeah.
Why not?
Got mud in it.
And I don't know that there's much strength there without a gusset behind it. You can't tell me that doesn't look better. Now apparently spotlights can tell you about a person, how old they are and what era they grew up in. Now I'm not going to tell you which time capsule I got these lights out of, but yes, they're halogen and it's what I grew up with. We're almost done with this episode. Just got one more trip out to Bob's to do, out of Chipping Norton TJM, for something that we'll add in the next episode. Every four-wheel driver loves a good river crossing. That perfect photo of the car with a bow wave. But this day and age, with all the computers in cars, preparation and making sure that your motor is watertight is the most important thing you can have, apart from a winch, to get you out of trouble once you're stuck in the river. Probably one of my favourite places in Australia. This river system is amazing. We come here annually and have been doing so since I was 19. You've got to make sure that your motor's watertight. You don't want any water getting in. Water just does not compress like fuel. You end up on the side of the road, scratching your head with a bent rod. Now snorkels play a big part in keeping water out of your air intake. Unfortunately, the 70 series snorkels just don't do that. I'd rather they didn't have one at all. It's a false sense of security to look at a car and see a snorkel, but realistically this one in 2 pieces is not airtight, is not watertight. Look at that. That just sits on that. So you think if you're doing a creek crossing, water's going in that, it's getting sucked into the intake. This joint here, look at that. There's no way that's not going to let water in, or dust. So what I'm going to do in the meantime until my snorkel arrives is I'm not going to leave it like this. We get any rain, it's going in. I'm going to undo this hose clamp here and pull that piece off, and then I'll just tape this up for the few days that we're waiting. Now there's no right or wrong aftermarket one to choose, as long as it's a one piece and it's watertight and airtight. You want to keep the dust out when you're on the dirt roads, and you want to keep the water out when you're doing your crossings. Now before we embark on any of our trips, I always make sure that all my hose clamps on all the fittings around the intercooler all the way up to the airbox are all tight. Even on the little Hilux, I always make sure. Now here's a bit of footage we took of the Hilux on the same river system. So this was our most recent trip down there, and it was a lot of fun, but the crossings were quite high, so we didn't pull the van through the crossings with the Hilux. And with all the wet, some of those roads did need repairing. Lucky we had the quad and the bikes down there so we could move ahead and scout out the roads before having to traverse them with the vans in tow. Now look, getting the cars through here wasn't a big deal. Problem was, the van is much wider than the car. So we spent a bit of time, cut a bit of wood, filled in the hole, packed it in a little bit, then we gingerly made our way across it. We're lucky that there was an option to take the high road, because there's no way the vans would have come through those crossings. Not with a little Hilux pulling them. I have pulled this van with the 79 before, but a lot more power and a lot more weight. Bit of footage here too, from 1995, up in Cape York, crossing the Wenlock. We ran dual snorkels on this truck, and the second one was plumbed in. It became our signature look. We ran the dual PVC snorkels for many years to come. Have a look at Gunshot Creek back then. Now this is 27 years ago. Doing Cape York in the wet season, just myself and a mate. I don't even think that they'd let you go on the road in the wet seasons these days. So this dual cab here, this was a 1988 model. So in this video, it was only 7 years old and I purchased it a couple of years earlier. So it was still in great condition, low kilometer, pretty much new still. I loved my Hiluxes back then and I love them today. We'll finish off this video with a little bit of RC action. It's our little 2-car challenge. First up, we got Nicholas's RC 4-wheel drive with a 45T new motor and a couple of 5,000 batteries.
Brand new.
That mini bullet with a stainless steel snorkel. I'm running 35s, the dual cab's 37s. Oh, bellied out. Oh, cone. Square to the roof. That's it. All done. That reminds me of something. So for you that want to follow the builds that we've got going on the 79 or the Hilux, if you haven't already, please subscribe for notifications and that way you'll get notified of our next video. I hope you enjoyed this and as always, thanks for watching.